Hello, everyone, and welcome back to day number 3, Championship Sunday of the Raid Masters Naxxramas $10,000 speedrunning event, brought to you by G-Loot Warcraft Logs and HyperX. My name is Esquire, joined by the lovely Sar than Mr. GM to walk you through all of the chaotic action that you will see throughout the day. And what an exciting day of speedrunning we have ahead of us. I mean, Mr. GM, overall expectations for today.
It's going to be intense. It's going to be really good. I mean, the last stream that we did was amazing. We had some absolutely incredible times. And I think the guys, have been practicing a lot since the last week. And they know the pressure of this stream. They know, like, a lot of eyes are on them while doing it. We have a new world record holder with Noobs, with the newest time in Naxxramas. So there's a lot to play for. And I honestly, at this point, anyone could really take the title.
Certainly that is so. Mr. GM Sar, what are your expectations for today? Anything different?
I am extremely excited for today. A lot of the guilds did take quite a bit of time in between their last run and today, so they did have to wait, but luckily the PTR has been back up, so they've been able to get some practice runs in, a lot of practice for most of these guilds, and I'm definitely expecting us to see a new world record today. I'm expecting us to see the first sub 50. There's multiple guilds in the runs today that can do it and have been doing that on the PTR itself.
Well, speaking of multiple guilds in the runs today, let's go ahead and take a look at our format, schedule, rules, you name it, and see just how today's Championship Sunday, day number 3, is going to play out. Yes, it is, of course, the Naxxramas speedrunning competition, so these will be taking place within the most difficult raid in World of Warcraft Classic Vanilla. 2 attempts these guilds have had to put up the fastest time. Today will be their last opportunity to do so. At the end of the day, the fastest time over these 2 weeks is going to be the time that walks away with the lion's share of the prize. Let's go ahead and talk about the rules that will govern this competition. Yes, you are no stranger to them if you've been watching these speedruns throughout the last year or so. This is going to be the Warcraft Logs rules. There are not going to be trash skips allowed. There are a certain number of mobs that have to be killed of a certain type as well. World buffs are going to be allowed to be brought into the raids themselves. There's going to be a 5-minute penalty for any swaps or substitutions that have to take place during the raid, and a maximum of 5 flasks of petrification will be allowed to be used by these guilds. As far as our schedule, or rather our prize pool for today, at the end of the day, like we said, the winners will be walking away with certainly some hefty prize pools to take home to their guilds and use to, well, their own decisions. I mean, they can have those celebrations, those barbecues that we heard Noda talk about last week, or something else. But it is going to be $4,000 going to our grand prize team, the first place team at the end of today, $2,500 for second place, $2,000 for third place, and then the fastest time of the opposing faction of first place will be taken home $1,500. So it is certainly a lot for these guilds to be playing for. They're going to be trying to leave it all on the line today. They don't want to have any strategies unused, have any regrets as far as the conclusion of the day will go. Schedule. Let's go ahead and take a look, gentlemen. We've got the pre-show going on right now. After the pre-show, we will segue into round number 1, where it is going to be an absolute bloodbath. We've got so many guilds, guys, that are going to be competing here in round number 1. It's going to be exciting. After round 1, we'll go through the post-round breakdown and then go quickly into round number 2, where our final guilds of the day will have their shot to try to put up that record time. So guys, hey, Mr. GM Sar, it is definitely going to be an exciting day. Mr. GM, you talked about it. Strategies have sort of been fine-tuned a little bit, some new strategies coming into the game. But we should maybe take a look at how the last 2 days of this Raid Masters Naxxramas event has gone. I believe we got some juicy replays to show you some of the wins and, well, maybe shortcomings of some of these guilds as they progress through Nax.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Sorry, I'm speaking over each other. So you take this away.
Yeah, moving into the last runs, we actually saw some incredible times from a few of the guilds, and then some of the guilds actually had a little bit more struggles than we usually anticipate in the raids. But some of the guilds really put up their best times, and in particular, the NA guilds really excelled here in the competition. So I'm really excited to see what they can do today and how they can improve on their times. Also, the Horde guilds here, as we can see, moving through just cleanly through the stables. We may see today a stables pull from a Horde guild. So that will be something very interesting to see. We haven't seen any in the competition yet, a clean stables pull from any of the Horde guilds. So here it will end up saving them quite a bit of time, and I think that would be really, really exciting to see.
It seemed like the stables was maybe one of the areas where we saw the biggest innovation maybe in these pulls. Some of the runs that seemed like they were doing the best were trying to accomplish this massive one pull stables, and then the kind of like the half Farelina pull, all the trash with the sappers.
It's one of my favorite
those are the
pulls.
two scariest.
It's my favorite pull in the entire place. Honestly, like, seeing on the Alliance side obviously is way easier with being a Paladin, right? It's obviously the Paladins run in with the bubble and just kind of bring it all in, but on the Horde side it's definitely a lot harder. But yeah, it's just, I think that and the Farelina pull, probably my two favorite, and as you said, two of the riskiest, right?
Yeah, definitely two of the scariest. And you can see here right now, we're looking at Salad Bakers from last run, Eplios' point of view, and they all threw down target dummies. It was not the cleanest Instructor Resuvius there, and that's one of those fights that can be really, really scary. And then moving into actually 4 Horsemen, this is one of the fights that actually on the PTR, some guilds have been getting a faster time than we've ever actually seen on live. So hopefully we see some crazy new strategies or some crazy kill times there. This was the most unfortunate thing of the last run. This was none of the above, going down in the Patchwork wing or the Abomination wing when they were on world record pace. They were about a minute and a half plus above world record pace at that time. Unfortunately, they did have a little bit of an extra pull there, which did wipe them, which kind of led them to kind of not underestimate that portion of the raid. There's so many different things within Naxx where if one thing goes wrong, it can really aggressively hurt the raid. So hopefully everyone will be a lot more, or people won't underestimate the pulls that they usually don't like to.
Well, that's a good point that you make, because we've talked so much about maybe these new strategies that could be coming into play today. But like we saw with that Noda run, I mean, pulling the A-bomb trash and the living monstrosities, things like that, there really hasn't been too much innovation with those pulls in particular. And that really comes down to just making sure that the pulls you've been doing over the last, few months are ironclad, that you've got them down, that those little mistakes, like maybe a Fear Ward not going out, and then you have a player running, aimlessly into a pack, make sure that doesn't happen, Sarth.
Yeah, it's pretty much down to execution for the most part. I think most of these guilds do know their strategies. Well, all of the guilds obviously know their strategies, but they're all going to be just really trying to perform here. And the biggest thing in these speedruns right now is execution. Just to get that sub 50 will be execution. Although in particular, we may see some guilds doing very crazy new strategies. Most of the guilds are going to be going just for a clean execution run, and that will give them the world record.
Definitely, it certainly will. Well, we talked about maybe a few times sub 50 runs today. We didn't see it last week, but let's go ahead and take a look at how the leaderboards ended up shaping up with last week's runs, dominated by the Alliance. My goodness, 1 through 10, all Alliance guilds. As an Alliance player, I'm not surprised to see it, my friends. But Rain is going to be sitting atop the leaderboards with a 52-minute and 46-second run. They're trailed in second place by Exodus, who's just shy of 3 minutes behind where Rain currently sits. But you can see, we did have 4 guilds in that top 1 hour slot. I mean, Mr. GM, when you look at these leaderboards, when you see currently how 1 through 10 shape up, what do you think might develop as we go through the runs today?
It is interesting, actually, because a lot of these guilds are not performing to their, absolute record times that they've got. I mean, for example, Salad Bakers are currently sitting at a 51-minute time as their absolute all-time best, and they're 57 here. So if they were to get anywhere close to that, I mean, 52 on the dot, you'd put them in first place, right? So I think it's going to be super interesting. Salad Baker's definitely one to watch for sure. They were, currently number 3 in the world, so that's absolutely amazing. And yeah, I think honestly, as I said, all of these guilds have a really, really good chance at getting some fantastic times, and hopefully we see the world record today.
That is going to be the hope. Well, contrary to what the leaderboard might show, we also do have some Horde competitors here in the tournament as well. LR was one of our Horde guilds to put up a time of 1 hour and 40 minutes. And then we've got Newman, Maximum Effort, Senseless, and Scripted. Again, Senseless and Scripted were not able to complete their runs in the first week, and they put up a did not finish time for those runs. So we have now looked at the leaderboards. You've gotten a pretty good idea of where these guilds stand, but remember, these guilds can completely erase those times. It's almost as if they don't matter so long as they get a better time today. You know, Sard, when we talk about 50 minutes, sub 50 minute Naxxramas speed clears, we didn't see anything even close to it last week. We saw, I believe, Rain with 52 minutes as the fastest run. What is it going to take for these guilds to come up with those, 2-minute shave offs of their times or even more?
The craziest part of the sub 50 run is it all relies on what I was mentioning earlier, execution and then pacing. This is something I'll definitely be pointing out during the runs, but you'll notice that some of the top guilds, particularly ones that are really good at this, would be bakers, salad bakers, and none of the above, where every single one of the pulls they do, they're kiting the pull towards the next group, and just shaving off those couple seconds basically of time, transit time, while you're killing mobs instead of standing still, it adds up pretty significantly. And then also their hunter puller. So if they have a very, very solid hunter puller, just increases their pacing. And then if they have a clean run, there are a few strategies that can still shave off time, but these guilds are showing pretty much a sub 50 run consistently with the current strategies that are out right now.
I mean, we'll certainly be looking to see if we see it. We saw several runs last week that were looking like they could be the run to do it. Noda's run, so devastating to see that trash wipe happen, but also the devastation that was caused by the military wing. I mean, whether it was Gothic, whether it was Vesuvius, you saw so many guilds just bend the knee to those bosses in particular. Well, we've got an interview coming up. We've got Melos from Salad Bakers, who's going to give us a little bit of insight into himself and his guild and what they do to prepare for Naxxramas.
Right, so my name is Alex. I'm 28 years old and I'm from Norway. I play the character Melos, a priest in the guild Salad Bakers on the server Gehennes. So I played Classic back in 2014 on the private server Nostalrius, which was quite a while ago. Then I had a few breaks, I've been on and off, and then I heard Classic was releasing, so I was like, yeah, I could give this a shot. I'll join a chill guild. I don't want to play too much. And then I started playing, I got hooked, and I realized I can't play this casually. I want to go hard. And that's why I applied to Salad Bakers and I never looked back. So my girlfriend isn't too happy about it, but yeah. Salad Baker is quite a large guild. We're running 2 raids, so our roster is around 80 to 100 people that we have to manage. But our speedrun roster is 40 people, because that is the raid size in WoW. So we have around 40 competitive players. And staying motivated, the most fun thing is when you can bring everyone together and work towards the goal. Like, we've been talking about strategy, we've been trying to do a bunch of different polls, like how can we improve this, how can we go faster? And when everything clicks and it just go boom, 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 that's the best feeling, when you just go gas, gas, gas. That's probably one of the reasons I play this game as well, because the community. You can play like a single player game and it's fun for a while, but if you do it as a community, like this game, you stay, the friendships you make along the way is what makes it fun. So I've actually met people from this guild in real life who's from the same country and you have the same interests. It's quite fun. But yeah, the community is probably the biggest thing. If we have a clean run, which is probably one of the hardest things, I don't believe there's any guild that can beat us. But it's really hard having a clean run because you have 40 players. There's a lot of moving things. One person DCs, one person lags, one person makes a mistake at the wrong moment. The whole run can fall apart, right? So right now, I think we're about 10 seconds behind the guilders number 1. They had 0 deaths and we had around 10 to 15 deaths. So if we have a clean run, I believe we'll easily take it, yes. Okay, lastly, I'd like to give a shout out to the entire speedrun roster in Salad Baker. Just remember one thing: gas, gas, gas.
Yes, that lovely Eurobeat, gas, gas, gas. Some wise words, some beautiful insight coming in from Melos of Salad Bakers. I mean, Sard, maybe we start off by talking about this really quick. So we've got Melos, who is, famously a priest, right? You've got Vesuvius, which was famously the destroyer of the Salad Bakers run last week. Well, how do you mix those two together? Maybe you shed some light on the role of the priest in that poll in particular and how they move forward from this.
Yeah, that is one of the fights that can absolutely ruin a speedrun. And it's something that most guilds don't overcompensate for, but Salad Bakers does. What you really want to do is have more than one priest mind controlling the ads at the same time. If the priest itself has any shadow resistance on, it can make the ad break earlier, but sometimes you can pretty much get an instant heartbeat break. It's like a 1% chance, and it's really rare, but it can happen to both of the ads. Usually with both of the ads, having two of them, you do have backup, so you're not nearly as afraid, but it can happen. And that's why they actually did target dummies, where they put down target dummies, and you can lip AoE taunt. With these speedruns, since they're doing the stables pull, they don't have access to limited invulnerability potions anymore because the pots will be on CD. So pretty much target dummies are how you try to save yourself and get your other priests getting the other two ads as quickly as they can. So it is a scarier fight. It definitely can go wrong, but pretty much everyone should be overlapping their mind controls. And the thing that helps there too is that the MC'd ads add DPS on the boss. They're DPSing the boss so you kill it faster. And also your tanks don't have to sit there tanking the ads. They could tank the ads and be DPSing the boss, but a lot of guilds don't do that as much as you'd like to see. So it is one of the fights that can be not necessarily innovated, but can be min-maxed a lot better for most guilds. And even if you're doing things right, it can go wrong if you're really unlucky.
Certainly can. Good insight on that. We've got another interview coming up from our friend Bloodwill of None of the Above, or Noda, as you might know them.
So, my name is William. I play a Holy Paladin in None of the Above. I am the raid leader. I am a part of the leadership. And that's me. I am a PhD in robotics and AI. So, I make mobile robots smarter. I try to ensure that our society is going to be filled up with robots that are doing cool things. So basically, I played this game since I was 16 years old, and I've been competitive my whole life. I played semi-pro football. I was competitive in school. I've just been competitive, and I'm very social, I'm very open. I like to have fun with friends, and WoW is the best place to create a community where you make yourself happy, you get competition, and you make other people happy. It's the best platform in the world to do something like this. In our guild, we basically have a PvE team, and this PvE team is responsible for developing tactics, researching, simply just making sure we are on top of everything. And then we write out messages to our raiders. We have a channel on Discord where we allow everybody to be part of and discuss raid relevant strategies. And then we use this, and we have discussions on a daily basis. Communication can be rough sometimes, especially when some people are too eager to speak. You cannot be 40 chefs. You need to have some people that are serving the food. You need to have some people that are welcoming the guest. You need to have some people that are cleaning. You need to have, you need to fill every role to run something like this. And when you have 40 guys on a Discord, it can go wrong very quickly. So you need to be able to keep a leash on people. But personally, I don't mind people calling things out on Discord. Very often, I just see it as people want to participate. People have, something important to say. And if they don't say something that is smart, they're just told to be quiet next time. That's how it functions. We're not doing this for money, never. We don't play this game. Our guild is not, like None of the Above, is not built upon huge egos that are streaming. We're basically built upon camaraderie and people that want the same thing. We want to be the best in this game. We love this game. And we are on a journey together. I think most of us wouldn't play this game if we were not playing in this guild that we have created now. It's all about winning. It's all about winning. It's all about the competition. And joining this tournament is a way to, like, you guys are creating a platform for speedruns to be legit, and we need to be part of this. We don't care about the money. The money is going to be used for a party in my backyard. We're going to invite every player in the guild, 76 mains there for a big party. It's not about money. I really, really, really feel pleasure in providing a good platform for people to be together with other people in. Especially during COVID, I think this has been important for many people.
Love this guy.
Some great insight from Bloodwill of None of the Above, or NODA, as you might know them, as we've abbreviated them for the purposes of this tournament. I mean, Mr. GM, you heard him talk about it. You heard him say that it maybe comes down to keeping a leash on the players. For a guild that, you know, like he said, isn't really one of those hardcore guilds. They don't have, you know, they kind of have that laid back mentality. Are they going to be a guild that's going to be able to conquer those maybe small minor mistakes, or will they kind of crack under the pressure here in the final week?
It is interesting, actually. Like last week, obviously they pulled it was the Abomination Trash, right? They wiped on, and I think another guild wiped on that as well, which was just strange because I think Sarth was saying it was one of the pulls that just didn't expect it to happen. And again, that comes down to pressure of the live stream, of the event. There's things on the line here. You know, normally a lot of these people are doing these speedruns for fun, just for the bragging rights, right? But now with competition like Raid Masters, there is money on the line here, and it's interesting. I bet over the last 7 days or so, they've just been blasting probably on the PTR, right? They've probably gone straight to that pull and been like, right, we're going to just keep doing and doing and doing it until we can get that absolutely perfect, because that's what these speedruns are about. It's all about execution, as you said, and it's just one of those, right? So safe bet. It's going to be very interesting to see them when they get to that pull. I'm going to be definitely clenching a little bit, but looking forward to it.
Practice makes perfect, and perfect practice hopefully will bring you home the lion's share of the prize pool. But these guilds, they're going for the prize pool. You at home have a chance to win something, guys. Make sure that you have that Twitch extension. I believe it's the Quiz Kit extension here on the Twitch channel. Make sure that you have it authorized and you've done everything that you need to get logged in there and participate in some of the quizzes that will be taking place over the course of today over the breaks for your chance to walk home with a HyperX keyboard. Certainly a good opportunity for you guys to show your wild knowledge and also maybe show your desk a new peripheral to add to it. Now, guys, okay, we talked about everything. We've laid it all out for the day, but one thing we haven't really shined a light on so far for the Naxxramas Speedrunning tournament is all of the preparation that goes into these raids, whether they be speedruns or whether they be trying to go for world record attempts. Like today, Sarth gives us a great look at just that.
Have you ever thought about doing speedruns yourself? Let's take a look at the preparation of what it takes to be competitive in speedrunning. First of all, you need to find a guild, and the recruitment is a bit different for speedrunning guilds, as most require players to have a geared alt character to participate in split raids, which is a concept coming from retail and means they divide the main characters into several different raids and fill with the other alt characters so that they can prioritize the main characters with the big item drops, so that they can all come together during the actual main raid ones and have as much gear as possible. Many think of this as a tedious process, but as with any competition, every advantage is being used. Another extreme that Classic has become known for is the collection of world buffs. But what do they do and how do you get them? There are 8 world buffs in total, and most of them are rather straightforward, like picking flowers in Fairless, or putting a dragon's head on display for the whole city to see in Orgrimmar or Stormwind. But what about some of the more tricky ones, such as Warchief's Blessing and the Darkmoon Fair buff? So for Warchief's Blessing, it's only given out to Horde players, and it's only given out to Horde players in Orgrimmar or in the Crossroads. This is done from turning in a quest after you finish Ubers. However, Alliance players have found out that they can get this buff, which gives them extra HP, melee haste, and mana regen, by getting mind controlled by a Horde priest, or with clever use of an engineering helmet that also has a mind control effect. The Darkmoon Fair buff, however, is extremely important to the extent that guilds change their raid times completely to be able to match with the event. The fair starts building over the first Friday of the month, and then it actually starts on the very first Monday of each month. And then it is only there for exactly 1 week until the next Monday. NA guilds then have 1 day to get the buff and do a raid before starting their next lockout, and EU guilds have 2 days. But guilds can actually get 3 uses out of this buff by using that first day and then getting the buff again and going back in on their normal raid times, and then logging their character by getting the buff 1 more time and just staying logged out until their raid the next week. Getting the buff is a challenge of its own, as its location alternates between Mulgore and Elwyn Forest, forcing people of the opposing faction to travel into dangerous territories, but considering the power of the 10% increased damage, it is a must-have. The trip can be a logistical challenge as well, and it must be carefully planned. As with almost every server, there's going to be numerous people of the opposing faction camping out at the NPC just waiting to kill people trying to get this buff. One of which is one of the most reliable, is using an invisibility potion along with a flask of petrification and a clever use of battleground mechanics. So if you queue up for a battleground and then wait for the queue to be ready, you can take the invis pot, run up to the NPC, and then pop the petrification flask. When you have this flask popped, no one can hurt you, no one can actually do anything to you, but you can still respond to things. So you can talk to the NPC while you're still in the flask of petrification, and you're immune to quite literally anything else. Then you accept the battleground queue and then just AFK out, and you're safely back in whichever city you decided to take the queue from. Getting to the raid is the next challenge, after acquiring all the buffs and without facing the opposing faction. To do this, guilds find secret and discreet summoning locations, and they keep their raid times secret. For this competition, we can expect that all of the traveling time is done several hours or even days before the time slot to avoid griefing. PTR is another topic that's very relevant and a hot topic recently for speedrunning guilds, as the servers went up in January and they allow for basically infinite tries and practice. Each guild dedicates different amounts of time to the PTR, and it can vary anything between 10 to over 100 hours of practice runs. However, it's not as easy as just plug and play, as the players do have to make their live server characters fully raid ready with full buffs before they copy over to the public test realm. Gold is another factor that contributes to the success of a speedrun. There are a lot of consumables in Classic for every class, and each guild will require every raider to have a surplus of these consumables each raid. These range from things like Flask of the Titans or Flask of Supreme Power, which can be up to 500 gold on different servers. Also things like Winterfall Firepower, or in most of these speedruns, things like Jujus. Then we'll need potions, free action potions, limited invulnerability potions, greater stone shield potions, and more. As you can see, these things add up. Raiding in one of these speedruns on a high pop server can have each raider spending more than 500 to 1,000 gold per raid. To have this much gold, a lot of different players take different approaches, such as boosting or making gold DKP runs. The latter is a concept about running the raid with mostly carries or usually guild members, and then making sure that you invite buyers, who are people that you know for a fact have a lot of gold and will be spending it on specific items. During the run, all of the items are collected, and once the run is concluded, the items get auctioned off to the highest bidder. Gold pools in one run can range anywhere between 80,000 gold to over 400,000 gold and beyond. So with this amount of gold being split up, not evenly, but at a good amount, you can see that people are making a lot of gold just by doing the raid itself on one of their alts. Raid ID fishing has also become standard practices in speedrun guilds, which is all about trying to get a raid ID or an instance ID with as few hard trash mobs as possible. For example, in AQ40, priests would use mind vision on Cthulhu from the entrance by using a macro and a little help of add-ons that helped them figure out if it was actually going to be a good ID. However, in Naxxramas, this is not necessary, as the level of difficulty that you can find by finding a new ID doesn't actually end up saving very much time. These are all different things that go into all of the preparation just to be ready to even enter into the raid itself and attempt a speedrun. All of the top guilds have all of their raiders committed to doing everything they can to make sure that they can shave off as much time as possible.
Sorry, I got to say a stellar, I don't want to use the trademark term too much here, but deep dive into the preparation that these guilds have to go through. I mean, it's not just the buffing, it's not just the raiding. it's also everything kind of else that goes into it, the organization of it all. I mean, Sarth, do you think any of these guilds has that preparation? Obviously we see some of it. Have any of the guilds in this competition really stood out to you as a guild that has this on lockdown?
I would say every guild at this level is extremely versed in getting all of their buffs and preparing as much as possible. So I think they're all going to be ready for it.
Well, speaking of being ready for it, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready for round number 1 of the day here for Raid Masters Naxxramas. Again, the $10,000 tournament brought to you by G-Loot, HyperX, and Warcraft Logs. Mr. GM Sarth, take it away.
Alrighty, here we
All right,
are.
first of all, we have Gaslighting. Gaslighting going in first into the Plague Wing, which looks very smooth so far. No one dead, and their hunter is out of range as well as a paladin, so that it looks like they're doing pretty much the standard pull. We're not seeing swiftness potions being used here, so everyone is gonna use a free action potion. So this is a pull that pretty much most guilds are doing now to start the raid, and it is one that can be a little bit risky. You can take quite a bit of damage. We have seen people lose like some of their DPS here, especially the melee DPS. In particular, Rise lost some warriors here in the last run, but if it goes well and it is clean, then it will absolutely save time.
Yeah, I mean, is the comp exactly the same here? I mean, are we seeing any changes to the composition they had previously? I mean, that's a ton of warriors, obviously.
Yeah, the composition looks pretty much like the standard composition. 2 rogues, sometimes you can go with just 1 rogue. You need a rogue particularly for improved exposed armor. 5 mages, and one of those mages did die. So there's the first death here in the raid, the first mistake. One of these warlocks getting low as well, so this pull can be scary. They did use their battle res there just so that they don't have to slow down at all, and they're moving into the first boss. First death, always a mage.
It's true. It is true. It's so unfortunate. I really genuinely, I couldn't even imagine, the kind of, I guess it's self-guilt, right? If you do die in these speedruns, because you are, everyone is so important to these runs. I mean, you said before, a mage is not as important as a warrior when it comes to damage, but still, at the end of the day, it's still a lot of damage from losing all of those world buffs.
Yeah, it is, even as a mage, because the best thing that could happen if you're going to lose someone would be a healer, because them losing world buffs doesn't really cost you that DPS, that time moving forward. And it does look like Salad Bakers needs a little bit more time, so they will be getting started shortly because their raid leader actually lost his weak auras, so that's good to know. Thank you, Drast. But yeah, losing a mage there is scary. You do feel bad losing your buffs, always. It does feel bad for yourself, but that pull in particular usually is done with either target dummies as well as AoE taunts. So if the taunts miss, if the warriors that are doing that, it's kind of on them. If they don't overlap their taunts perfectly, then it could ruin the pull. That's how somebody dies, because if not, no one else can be attacked, basically. So if the warriors fail, that is where the deaths happen early on.
So you can blame warriors for it, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So we've got that risky pull coming up, the Faralina pull, right, coming up?
Faralina pull coming up. You can see in the bottom in his raid frames that a paladin is already out of range. So it'll be interesting to see if they do the giga pull or the mega pull. These are named particularly, one pull can have all of the spiders as well, and then the other pull will basically just have Faralina's room. Both are extremely scary, but if you have the spiders also, they don't die during the sappers, or they won't all die during the sappers. So you do have to follow up with some AoE taunts and make sure that nobody dies. So you do have to follow up instantly with an AoE taunt. We're going to see, it looks like they're killing all of the spiders by grabbing the skitterers here. So it's not actually going to be the biggest pull possible, but hopefully they do have a clean pull nonetheless. It is still extremely intimidating. If one person sappers early or does anything changes stance early or does anything to break that stealth or the invisibility potion they're going to use, then it will be a wipe pretty much. So this is the scariest part early on in the raid.
Yeah, this is probably. I mean, I mentioned earlier, like my favorite pools of the raid, right? I think this one is just cool aesthetically. I mean, look at. So he's standing. Is it just behind the barrel there? Oh, we have it. Is that the hunt?
Yeah.
That's the feign death, isn't it? No, it's not a feign death.
Actually, like the petrification ran out. It looks like the petrification. So the petri lasts for 2 minutes. It looks like he set up the pull too early and they didn't all have potion cooldown, because it looked like a lot of people hadn't used potions yet. So it looks like they had to wait and didn't have potion cooldown. That is going to cost 1 minute. 1 minute for a flash petrification. And it looks like they just did the pull too early and didn't move into the room. So it pretty much cost them so much time here. They still can put up an incredible time. They didn't lose a lot of people. They backed out of the pull before everything went wrong, which was the smart play. But it definitely does lose them quite a bit of time here, not being able to do the pull in there. And now we can also see Noda starting up, moving into their first pull. The same thing as we saw earlier. They are going into the Plague Wing to start, and then it looks like they're going to move into Spider, intercepting the first Abominations as well on their way.
Wow, I can't believe already. Like, well, like a couple of minutes in, and there's already been a bit of a commotion with the previous guild. So you hate to see it, don't you, Sarth? You really do.
Yeah, feeling like messing something up early. Spider Wing is actually one of the riskiest wings, and it's where you start. So the big pulls are the scariest, and just messing things up early really sets you back in your overall time. So that means most likely they won't win the competition unless other people mess up. And here we're going to see the first chance for Noda to have things go wrong, as they're all AoEing and everybody using their Oil of Immolation. It looks so far like it's going well, and they did it. Noda pulls it off. No deaths here. Very clean. So none of the above. Actually, one of those guilds that personally I think has absolutely the chance to break the world record and to get the #1 here. They're very consistent at execution in particular, and like I mentioned earlier in the pre-show, their pacing. They are one of the guilds that just has incredible pacing. Both their tanks and their entire raid moving as a team, and then their hunter pulling. It's just always extremely on point. So if they can have a clean execution, they will get sub 50.
Sub 50, sub 50. That would be a world record, right? That
would be a world record. Yeah. So they last time in the competition they were on world record pace, which was really fun. They did have that unfortunate mishap in the Abomination Quarter. As you can see, look, a noob being pulled out, and everyone's using speed items. So either swiftness potion, speed boots. It is going to be coordinated between the guilds which ones they're all using. It looks like some may have broken early, so it must have been boots. And then your rogues can sprint. Your druids, as we saw on screen, can go into cat form and sprint. So everything so far is going really well, and they will have their next big challenge will be the Fairlena poll. See what they are going for in the Fairlena poll.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm just kind of waiting for, like, not so much the Fairlena pool. I think the Abomination Wing I'm going to be a little bit nervous for. But yeah, as he said, like, last time they did this, they were on absolute world record pace, and it's been really good so far. No deaths as far as we're aware, and it's looking good. But here we go, the Fairlena pool coming up, and we did just see this.
Yeah, and you
can
see
bit of a mishap. Go for it.
They grabbed the spiders also, like I was mentioning earlier. So you can see they're actually doing the Giga pull, getting pretty much everything. This is riskier. They have their second paladin bringing the next group in. So this is riskier, but if it's done well, it'll be huge. We're going to see right now. The game's going to lag for everyone. People get low, but no instant deaths yet. Oh, and they do it. That pretty much happens for any computer when every single person in the raid sappers clear from none of the above.
Wow.
Oh.
That was incredible. Like, yeah, they got super low, and it's great seeing the healer POV, obviously. Just makes it way more tense just to be in their shoes and kind of experience this with them. But yeah, that was a really clean pull. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that is, I think, the first one of the competition we've seen be that clean. And the scary part, like I was talking about, is that those spiders are in there, those big green ones, and they live past the actual burst of AoE you do initially. So if they turn and melee someone instantly, that person can pretty much die. So hopefully you need to have pretty much, you will have like an AoE taunt from one of the tanks, probably with shield wall here, because he had to use invisibility unless he's using gnomish invis or cloaking, just to make sure that nobody else takes aggro and dies from that instant damage. We did see some of the tanks get low, but they did all live. So far,
no. Jumbo.
Right.
Not a mage.
First death. It is a mage. The first death, a mage again.
Damn, you hate to see it, but that doesn't shouldn't deter them too much, right? I don't know, like, not the end of the world, but still definitely a bit of a loss there.
Yes, not the end of the world. Losing a mage does cost them some time, but it doesn't hurt them as much as losing more people in their earlier pulls. They did pull off the Fairlena pull, which is going to shave off time compared to the Exodus run that we saw a minute ago. And they're actually grabbing the Gargoyles and Acolytes here together. This is a little bit of a scarier pull, but pretty much with the amount of DPS output that None of the Above has, everything gets deleted almost instantly. So the death there for Jumbo does hurt. And one thing to mention on timers, guys, we will have wing timers and everything split up right at the end of every wing. So we will have timers for everyone right at the end of every wing so that we can see the differences and how fast they're clearing pretty much everything. We're working together with Warcraft Logs on that to have it perfect.
Wing timers, how awesome is that? It's going to be awesome to be able to compare them straight up. Obviously, right now, there's a ton of guilds going at the same time, right?
Yeah. Everyone going at the same time. Noda, I would anticipate, is currently in the lead. They did have a death, another death, so 2 deaths so far. H-Fury went down, which is a warrior. It is rough losing a warrior this early, so now they've lost a warrior and a mage, and they are moving into the end of Spiderwing. So far, 2 deaths, not the cleanest. They are probably not the most happy with that, but the other pulls, the scarier pulls, did go well for them.
Yeah, I mean it's the Abomination Wing, right? That's the part I'm kind of waiting for here. But with this boss, as you mentioned before in the last stream, you have to do it in a certain time, right? Otherwise, something happens.
Yeah, you can see on the screen he has Web Spray will be happening in 28 seconds. So Web Spray is that ability where the boss basically stuns everyone in the entire raid and stuns them for 10 seconds while still attacking. You just want to kill him before, or kill her, I'm not sure. You want to kill Myexna before that happens. And they did get kind of unlucky with the web wraps. It looked like 3 warriors got web wrapped. So they are going to make it in time, but it did look like 3 warriors got web wrapped. That does cut down your DPS time on the boss because warriors are the highest DPS overall, other than, of course, we see a mage on the meters on top from the ignite damage.
Absolutely blasting 3.2k. That is insane.
Yeah, they are going fast. And here they're using swiftness spots. We can also see that we can see the split screens here where we have Resuvius on the left side. Resuvius, that scary boss that broke down Salad Bakers earlier. So Senseless has actually blown through the Plague Wing first. Senseless has already blown through the Plague Wing. They all are doing around 2k DPS on Lotheb, and they had an 8-minute Plague Wing. They just are going, or 6-minute and 48-second Plague Wing, which is an incredible pace, actually. So Senseless are in here moving very smoothly. Only 1 death so far, and that means they probably did do the Stables pull as well, which hopefully we can get as a highlight to check out for you guys to see a Horde Guild do it. It is always really entertaining to see hunters or rogues to see which you have doing it. Usually a rogue for it, but it is a lot scarier to do the Stables pull as Horde because you don't have a Paladin bubble which just lasts longer than just the duration of a limited invulnerability potion.
So I guess one observation that I'm just quickly making, no mages in Senseless.
Senseless actually runs all melee. They only have one Warlock specifically for Curse of Recklessness, and this is something that they do to take advantage of basically Horde have Wind Fury Totem. So they take advantage of pretty much that, accessing Wind Fury Totem as much as they can. One thing we missed was their Hygen, and that's where Noda is going right now, is Hygen the Unclean. But the Hygen that Senseless does, they actually have Hygen fight the rest of the raid on the platform. So he's standing still, and the raid fights him on the platform, and it's the healers and the Warlock that actually do the dance. So there's an advantage there, is that you never have downtime on the boss, because the boss, Hygen in particular, can be really sketchy in his movements. He's hard to move. It's kind of fixed on the PTR, but on the live format, we'll see right now in a second, the boss actually takes a while to move as the tank moves.
Interesting. So they're actually making like raid fixes, I guess, on the PTR. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they took away batching on the PTR, and that also took away Hygen. I guess, I don't know how that actually worked together with him moving better, but it helps with multiple bosses can move a lot better. They don't take a second to register that you've moved out of their range. So instead of you just moving and the boss taking a few seconds to follow you, it actually will just move with you instantly. And it does change things quite a bit. One thing in particular is threat issues can be a thing here on this boss, because the tanks have to move out of the boss's hitbox to move him. As you can see, Skedo moving the boss as much as he can, which means he's fighting the boss less or attacking it, which means threat can be an issue.
Interesting, interesting. I'm so curious about when the PTR patch is actually going to come to the live game, honestly. Like, it's been on there for absolutely ages at this point, and honestly, like, you know, it's probably been tested enough, right, with the amount of speedrunning that people have been doing.
Yeah, definitely been tested. The amount of practice that these guilds are doing on the PTR is actually insane. They're pretty much in here over and over again, doing this as much as they can.
Oh, looks like we're a death on the left. This Faralina pool.
Let's see.
Oh.
Looks like one death on Baker's.
Did they mess up the pool?
They haven't done... Oh, that was the same thing going on. It looks like they messed up the Faralina pool. That might be the Paladin. So it looks like they have to do a very standard Faralina pull. This is going to cost them a lot of time. That is huge. Lottie down. Lottie down. Oh, wow.
No.
That is very unfortunate.
They were like, you know, like favorites to win, right? Like how much does this kind of hinder their time at this point?
This hurts their time quite significantly. This sets them back quite a few, over like 2+ minutes. So it pretty much means most likely they still could potentially get a world record, but it would be very rare. And unless Noda has more issues happen, it's Noda's race to lose at this point now. That's very unfortunate, messing up the Faralina pull, happening twice today, and we know that these guilds have done this 1,000 times on the PTR, so it could have been perfect as every one of their test runs, and then just coming to the live run, one thing going wrong, really setting them back.
Must be so demoralizing, honestly. Look, it looks like they've lost 2 more people as well on the Baker's side there. Yep,
2 more deaths on the pre-Faralina trash. That is just... you hate to see it. It's very unfortunate. It's rough. It's not a great start for them, and now they also have to wait to res. So all of this time is downtime as well. So they are losing a lot of time comparatively to any of the other guilds. Noda, you can see on the right side, just finished Lotheb. So they had a 7-minute and 53-second spider wing, and that includes fully clearing the trash, the pre-trash. So that is a really, really good pace for Spiderwing, and after Lotheb, they're moving into the military quarter, or Death Knight Wing. They do have 1 death here. Right now, they don't have many healers that can heal. You can see on the right side, the Druid has the debuff, on his right side of the screen where he can't actually heal anyone, or else he's going to get a cooldown of a minute before he can do anything else. They only have 2 healers that can do anything, so the death they took there was a rogue. Generally speaking, it is less impactful as a warrior. Ideally, it was their exposed armor rogue, because that would be even less impactful of a loss than a warrior.
Right. So the exposed armor rogue, is that I'm assuming a talent, right, that they would have to take?
Yeah, that is a talent that rogues have to do. Specifically, you need one in every raid, and their job primarily is to get exposed armor up on the boss, try to bring the bosses down to 0 armor as much as possible. It will increase the DPS of every single warrior by about 5+%, and it is huge. It overall, for a raid, it is pretty much massive. Every single raid runs an exposed armor rogue, at least at the higher levels, or any speed run. And that's pretty much their main job, is to keep exposed armor up 100% of the time. Sometimes you can see it falling off, and even if it falls off for a second, that means the boss doesn't have sunders or exposed armor. It is a big DPS loss during that time, so you're really going for it.
That's so cool. Such an important role to have there. Is that the role that you do in your raids?
It's a role that you generally don't want to have. For the sake of, you particularly do less damage yourself because you're not using different combo point finishers. So as a dagger rogue, you very rarely see guilds do it as a dagger rogue. Salabakers has gotten a world record time with a dagger rogue doing it. John's actually did it. You rarely do it because you have to use Sinister Strike, because it just is more efficient energy-wise per global to be able to get the combo points up right away. But you have to use that global, your first basically finisher, on exposed armor instead of things like Slice and Dice and Eviscerate. So you yourself actually lose out on damage, but it helps the raid. It's not the favorite job of most rogues.
Do they alternate it, or is it always just the same guy?
It depends in different guilds. Oh, Exodus with the Stables pull does lose 1 priest there, but instantly is brought back to life. That is really nice. It's nice to see that he's brought back to life, basically because he did have a soul stone on him. So it looks like Exodus with the soul stone bringing the priest back instantly. Now we're going to see how their Vesuvius goes.
Yeah, this is a risky fight, as you mentioned before in the kind of pre-stream for the guilds here. Like, having that priest obviously go down and losing all his world buffs, is that going to hinder the run at all? Especially on this fight?
Not nearly as much. So it looks like Noda just did the stables pull. Noda's still with 2 deaths on the logs, which means they did have a clean stables pull. Very, very smooth. You love to see it. Noda, 3 deaths now. Oof. But still, that's not that bad. You can see on the right or on the left side, Exodus with 8 deaths. So Noda has been pumping through. Their Spider Wing was significantly faster than Exodus is, and their Plague Wing as well was 20 seconds faster. So Noda is currently at a great pace, even with these 3 deaths. Although those 3 deaths are going to cost them because we are so early on into the raid.
Yeah, I mean, the pace they're on right now, are they looking kind of like, world record pace or top of the leaderboard kind of pace?
Definitely top of the leaderboard. I don't know 100% if they're at world record. Let me pull that up. It looks like, so in the world record run, Gothic died at 25 minutes and 42 seconds. So Noda, it looks like they are potentially on pace. We're going to have to see. They're at 18 minutes and 30 seconds right now. So it looks like they're actually on world record pace, but they have lost 3 people. Right. So they still have lost 3 people, which does hurt them in the long run. So losing people early, no matter what, will slow you down. And I'm not sure if the 3rd death was a DPS or if it was a healer, which is the ideal thing to happen, like I mentioned earlier, is have a healer go down.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like for world buffs and stuff like that, how important are they for healers? Are they as important as DPS, or are they you can kind of get away with maybe missing a few?
Not nearly as important as DPS. mainly because you're not missing out on all of that damage. It does make it so like you have less crit percentage and also less mana per 5, which can cost you a bit personally, but it doesn't hurt you nearly as bad as losing world buffs on a DPS. So Noda, with these 3 deaths, is probably behind their fastest run on the PTR. They have had 47 and below runs on the PTR actually. So it does hurt translating here to the live realm, but we're seeing on the right side how their Gothic is going to go. We have seen a lot of guilds have a lot of struggles here on Gothic, where they put everyone either on the dead side, or if they choose to go with a potentially safer where they have some people on live and some people on dead. It just is one of those fights that one thing can go wrong and you could see a full wipe.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fight last week, right? That we had like I think 2 guilds had like massive wipes here. It was an absolute nightmare, honestly. Which is, you know, it happens absolutely, but yeah, it's rough. I think this view right now that we've got is absolutely amazing. Though we've got both guilds, same boss, same point. This is exactly what we kind of wanted from this tournament.
Yeah, seeing them go right up against each other. Noda's currently 2 minutes ahead, but they're at the exact same point, which is really, really nice to see. Exodus has had those 8 deaths, which sets them back a little bit. You can see actually their Hunter getting pretty low, so he's going to need to get healed up before he can continue to pull. Luckily, he doesn't die. He will have a Soul Stone as well. That's something that they're always prepared for. Healers with Soul Stones, as well as the Hunter, because he's just so key to pretty much all of the speed timing here.
Right. Yeah, because this is one of the longest fights in the raid, right? Not Hagen, the Gothic. Sorry.
Gothic is definitely one of the longest fights in the raid, and you definitely want to make sure that you are basically progressing the raid during the fight. If you're actually just standing still, you're not really doing anything while you're normally doing it. So if they have your Hunter pulling through, it will help a lot. You can see actually here with Salad Bakers, they have Shiramar is main tanking because Lottie did die, their normal main tank. So Shiramar is main tanking. Usually you would see Hagen die in this position. Let's see if they kill it in time. It looks like they're going for it. They should make it a little bit close there, but their timer on Spiderwing was 10 minutes. Their timer on Spiderwing was 3 minutes longer than none of the above, all because they actually lost out on that actual Fairlena pull. So Bakers is a bit behind, and they're going to need to catch up. They have lost some people as well, so it's a little bit scary for them to see what time they can put up.
Right. I mean, we're looking at the census now. Just looking at their kind of order of execution here, they're doing Spiderwing third. It's interesting.
Yeah, Senseless particularly goes into Plague Wing first. It is kind of one of the scariest wings for them because they have no mages to decurse and only one druid that can decurse for them. They all actually have to decurse themselves on Not the Plaguebringer, which actually in the last speedrun competition, the last run, they had 2 people forget to dispel themselves. So that actually cost them, there was a full wipe. So they do go into Spiderwing third and then into the Abomination Wing last, which means they will have Thaddeus debuff last, which is what pretty much most guilds are doing, trying to get a good RNG on the Thaddeus debuff where they can go in and start the RP on Saffron at about 30 seconds left on the Thaddeus debuff.
Right. Makes sense. So you said they can decurse themselves. How do they do that? I guess with an item?
Yes, with an item called Moist Towelette. They can use this item called Moist Towelettes.
Great name.
And also, they will have to, on that note, they will have to also utilize Slumber Sands or Magic Dust. They'll have to basically utilize items that they can use to incapacitate people on Kel'Thuzad whenever anybody gets mind controlled, because they don't have mages that can sheath people. They don't have multiple warlocks that can fear people. They're pretty much going to have to deal with them themselves.
I guess from like the outside looking in, right, with the no mage strategy, is there any sort of advantage here for it? Like, it just sounds like disadvantages at this point.
Overall, DPS-wise, usually Warriors win. Usually Warriors win. You'll see one mage usually pumping very close. And they're seeing, this is our first Horde Fairlena pull that we were seeing on the competition. So they have a rogue that put together this pull or Hunter. I didn't look, but they do this pull. They have everything grouped up really well. So as long as things go well here, Senseless, I think, is on time to get the Horde world record. So people got really low. There was 2 deaths there. 2 deaths. Unfortunate for them. That puts them up at 7 deaths. But so far, that's not terrible. Because of how far they are. This is their 3rd wing, but it does cost them time having to resurrect there. It definitely costs their time.
The first kill.
Right, I mean, Senseless right now are the world 3rd in the Horde rankings at 59 seconds. Stream State did actually get the Horde record while we were streaming last time, right? They got the 56-minute run, so they're doing pretty good. I mean, as you said, they're on a good pace right now, though, potentially take that title from them.
Yeah, they're definitely on a very, very solid pace. This is a scarier pull. Oh, Odal goes down. That was actually a scarier pull. That's kind of because of padding there. So right now, like I mentioned earlier, the healers are going to have pretty much that healing debuff, so they can't do too much healing. You want to kill all of the adds here in this earlier section of Military Wing before they can really do much damage to the raid. And with a bad pat there is basically a group that can do arcane explosions quite often. So you want to blow them up really fast with the other group if they're all the way back there. So there are some deaths that are happening. It is, you can see it on the stream. We've got some people saying to hide the logs, but it's looking like Salad Bakers are doing pretty well. They're moving at a good pace. Their Plague Wing was 6 minutes and 16 seconds, so a pretty solid Plague Wing. Where they really lost time was that Spider Wing. So their start really set them back, but they can still put up a really solid time.
I mean, how often does that Farolina pull go wrong?
All the time. It's a rough one. It's definitely a rough one. So it's one that, unfortunately, if one little thing goes wrong, a lot goes wrong. And we can see none of the above now on the cleave phase, fighting 4 Horsemen on the right, and also Gaslighting on the left, fighting 4 Horsemen. So these guilds are pretty much neck and neck, although it looks like none of the above has already taken more of a time advantage here over Gaslighting. They've already killed their first 2 Horsemen, and now they're moving on to Blue Mao, who's at 0.5% or 50%, and is gonna just be kited towards the exit of the room. So this 4 Horsemen could be an insane timing 4 Horsemen. It'll be interesting to see what the exact time of this kill is, but they could be very close to that 1 minute 30 second 4 Horsemen kill, which is just a golden 4 Horsemen.
Yeah, that is absolutely insane. I mean, comparing the 2 guilds right now, like, yeah, none of the above absolutely blasting through, and as they go into the Abomination Wing, where we did see them struggle last time, so this is going to be one to watch for sure to see if they can get that pulled down. But I would imagine, surely at this point, they've got that kind of settled. But, you know, never say never.
Yeah, they've definitely practiced. So Noda has definitely practiced. You can see at the top of the screen, we've got timers currently going, as well as death counters for all of the guilds. And so Maximum Effort has had a very rough rate, as we can see up top. 66 deaths. It looks like they're really not going to be competing for this top slot, but none of the above has been pumping. They got 1 minute 19 second 4 Horsemen. That's crazy. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's a really, really, really amazing 4 Horsemen kill from none of the above there.
That is awesome. I mean, what's the world record for Horsemen?
I'm checking right now. That was it by 10 seconds. By 10 seconds. Wow. The fastest before that was 1 minute 29 seconds. I said that the 1 minute 30 would be golden. They got 1 minute 19. None of the above. Oh my gosh. Like the guild that most people don't really anticipate taking the lead a lot of times. They kind of have come as the sleeper pick for a lot of the raids, but they were world fastest in AQ. You can see actually Gaslighting on the left side is stuck. They're actually having to go to the dead zone on 4 Horsemen. They didn't get to kill things fast enough and people are dying. That is a big rip for them. Big Sag, unfortunately. But Noda going through clean. This is really where they definitely are going to have some nerves going right now. They have been absolutely pumping, but they also did have some shortcomings right here, right? So last week, there was a lot that went wrong, and so they did go in and practice this particular wing quite a few times just to make sure. And I'm sure they're very, very on point right now. They're all ready for anything that could go wrong.
Yeah, this is a particular pool actually. This specific one, like these, because did you say that one of them needs to die like super quick or something like that, or they do some sort of ability?
Yeah. So it is those big boys right there. I don't want to say the wrong name because the name is escaping me, but they do a lightning totem and a fear, an AoE fear and a lightning totem they can put down. The fear doesn't really scare you as much, although that's what happened last time. Was the fear actually happened on a rogue, and a rogue got feared into the next group, and that's what killed them. But the lightning totem itself does a ton of AoE damage, and that's why guilds can't really do this as a mega pull, a petri pull, or anything like that, because they have to pretty much respect those mobs themselves. Right. So now we have Noda full screen here, guys. You can see Noda currently on pace again for the world record. Yeah, definitely on pace for the world record. Noda is pumping. Now they're moving on to the last pull in this wing, or at least the last pre-patchwork pull. We can see a Stratholme Holy Water used on the screen, and they have actually things are going very well for them. Now we get to see Patchwork, which is one of those bosses that things can go wrong, but currently they have been having just an incredible raid so far. Only 3 deaths, and it hasn't set them back that much at all.
So interesting thing about Patchwork, I guess, right, that I just noticed from like previous runs we've seen, he was kind of lower down on his pathing there. Like before, we've seen him like pretty much at the entrance. I guess, is that just timing that they just catch him?
That's pure RNG there. This is actually really, really good Patchwork pathing RNG for them. The only RNG that's actually bad is usually if he's like in between the slimes, because you either have to wait for him or you can attack him and like bring him to you. But if he's further down the path, you can just run to him, and if he's right here, that is actually perfect. So Noda, really, really nice. You can see the DPS meters on the right side, everybody at 1.1k. They're doing really well. There's 3 people that we can see that are the tanks on the threat meters: Sketo, Longview, and Tregor. So those are going to be the 3 tanks eating the hateful strikes. Myosin also is up there as the next highest, Diva peeking up, but as long as those 3 people stay alive, everyone and healed, no one else is going to have to really fear anything. So one thing also that's actually unique, that it's nice that we get to see right now, you can see that while Lindgreen's is spamming his abilities, you can see the little elixir of poison resistance right above his nameplate is being spammed also, and that is because he has it bound to his normal abilities like Bloodthirst and Heroic Strike. Basically, whenever you get any poisons on you, it will instantly use that. So there's no reason not to have that, and it can save you. It can be really, really huge, mainly in the Spider Wing, the early Spider Wing, especially on the early Spider pulls. And now we have some comms actually from Noda, so you guys can hear some comms from Noda.
Could have skipped this. Listen to me. We're going in 3, 2, 1, go.
Don't have torture.
Just a few more heals and trigger and we're good. Focus up here. You know what you're doing. Drag the bosses. Drag the bosses. Good.
Welcome back, everybody. Did you miss us? I missed you. Yeah, so we had some comms there from the guys. Cool, calm, and collected, of course. You don't want to, there's 40 people in this raid. You do not want 40 people shouting at the same time. These are super, by the book, very specific runs. So, yeah, I guess, I don't know, essentially you're going to have like a handful of people talking, I guess, so.
Yeah, usually you'll have just mainly a raid lead talking. It looks like there was one death there. Unfortunate, either took melee damage or got knocked up and took fall damage. I'll check out the logs to find out if he wasn't able to lip or intercept back in, or even be bopped, which is not a place you want to see a death, but we're pretty far into the raid, so it's not terrible, but it does hurt for sure losing a warrior early on the pre-Grobulus trash.
Right, so we're going back to Senseless here with their Oh, they're on the abomination pools here, the tough pools. A little bit of lag from their feed though, but that's okay because we can still see it. So yeah, you can see them just about to do the pull here. They've got the marks up as ready. Patchwork's in a good position as well, nice and low there. But here they go with the pull. Do you think the non-mage strategy is beneficial for these kind of pulls at all? I don't know.
It definitely hurts them. This is especially where it hurts them because they can't AoE nearly as much. Warriors cap out at 4 targets they can hit with their cleave. Whirlwind. Cleave only hits the 2. So they can't AoE these down as fast. That's why they actually waited for that pat to move away, just to be a little bit safer. It did just cost them time right there, and they probably have all 4 rogues just in a rotation trying to distract Patchwork so he doesn't move. You can see he's further back, so it looks like Patchwork was distracted, so he doesn't move away. It definitely cost them some time there, but they're on a pretty solid pace. 38 minutes here, moving on to Patchwork, and we can see none of the above. 35 minutes moving on to Gluth. So Noda is putting up an insane time, and Senseless is putting up definitely the time to win the Horde competition or Horde route in the competition. It'll be interesting to see what their final time comes out to be. They did lose some time there.
Right. Yeah, they're absolutely blasted right now. Do you think Census is still on track for Horde best, or what do you think?
I don't think so. They've had 12 deaths. They lost a lot of time with Spiderwing. Spiderwing took them 9 minutes and 16 seconds. That was not terribly long, but then if you look at their Plaguewing compared to Noda's Plaguewing, it was over a minute and 10. It was a minute and 10 seconds longer, and then DK Wing cost them another 2 minutes. So currently they are on a very solid pace, but I'm not 100% sure. And it looks like Praxis here actually didn't pull all of the little blobs, so they didn't get to kill all of the blobs, so they did lose a little bit of time. They had to actually heal up there instead of instantly moving on to this monstrosity pack. So it looks like Praxis, things are going well for them. They're at 35 minutes here, 0 deaths. They're actually potentially putting up their best time, and they are just playing it very, very clean. 0 deaths, as we can see from Taiba's POV, so they're just playing it safe. Their DK wing was quite a bit longer than some other ones we've seen in the tournament right now, with the 16-minute 30-second DK wing, and it's really nice to see these wing splits that we have now, guys. So very excited to see this in the tournament. But things are going very well for Praxis. They're putting up a very solid time, and Taiba, we had those interviews with him last week, and one of the nicest people we've ever talked to. And I'm really glad that things are going well for them.
Yeah, he seemed to demoralize last time right after the run, so I think, yeah, they've definitely got their work cut out for them this time. I mean, we saw them, was it Gothic the Harvester they had a little trouble with last time?
Yeah, they struggled with Gothic last time, so it looks like they probably took it a little bit safe. That's why their DK wing was so long, but they didn't lose anyone. So that is pretty huge for them, just having people live, pretty much. So Noda here on the right side on Thaddeus, they are putting up a pretty insane time. We'll see. The big question here will be if Thaddeus does a late polarity shift. A late polarity shift costs you time no matter what, because you can't move into position on Saffron yet, or else you technically could, but only the tank and 2 other people, 2 melees, could be DPSing the boss and some casters. You'd have to be spread out, but it technically you could. It's just riskier. So hopefully, it looks like they just got the polarity shift right there. So at 50 seconds on polarity shift right now, they're going to kill the boss. They're going to have maybe 40 seconds on polarity shift. Not perfect, but that's actually because they killed the boss so quickly. So it wasn't absolutely perfect for them timing wise, but that's because they killed the boss at a really, really solid time. And you can see Praxis on the left side is waiting for Patchwork, like we were mentioning earlier. So when Patchwork's at a bad pat, this is just costing them time because they are waiting for him. And that's like the worst place he can be, is right in between the blobs.
Right, because those blobs are like an instant death, right? You walk into those, it's like,
yeah,
swat.
You don't see it often, but we did see one.
Yeah, we did.
It sucks to see, but it's hilarious. It makes for great content, right?
Absolutely. So we're looking at Nota, sub 40-minute SAF, right? Getting into SAF now?
Yeah, 39 minutes. They're moving into SAF. So this is Noda's on world record pace. Noda is on world record pace, and they are just crushing it right now. 4 deaths. They've had another death, which is unfortunate, but still, they're just pumping, right? So the key here is to make sure that Saffron does only 1 air phase. And with the pacing or the timing on Thaddeus, it looks like that's going to happen. 1 minute 52 second Thaddeus. It wasn't like I don't think that's world's fastest Thaddeus. It seems like a pretty average Thaddeus timer for these speed runs. Yep, I lied. That is world fastest by 2 seconds. World fastest Thaddeus right there. So Noda is just consistently getting world record times for a lot of different things. So they're on pace. They're rocking it right now.
They're doing absolutely amazing. As you said before, you know, world record for Horsemen, world record Thaddeus. We could potentially be seeing a world record run overall here at Raid Masters. That is going to be absolutely awesome if we can see that. We just need everything to go picture perfect for the guys here. We do not want to see, you know, any deaths during staff. We don't want to see KT being a bit of a, you know, having a death there, because that's absolutely just devastating, right? Because of that definite, you know, what is it, the five minute first phase of KT is just a nightmare.
Yeah, so like anything that goes wrong, the scariest part on Kel'Thuzad is the RNG. Basically, if he does Frost Blasts on the melee, the Ice Blocks on the melee often, if he does the Shadow Fissures on the melee often, and if he Mind Controls often, it's kind of actually it's a variable timer, so it's not exact when he's going to do any of these abilities. So that's one of the things that Kel'Thuzad could be an extremely smooth fight, or it can just go wrong very quickly. And it can be very unfortunate. It can just cost you time. But at this current pace, unless something goes catastrophically wrong, it looks like they're putting up an insane time right now. Look at that. There's Saf dead, 41.08. Saf dead at 41.08. So none of the above, no deaths here, which won't cost them time. This is one of the worst bosses to have a death because you're still in combat for so long. You're either going to have to use your combat res, or you need to have somebody run back and summon them. None of the above, absolutely on pace for the world record. That was just beautiful. 1 minute 49 seconds on Saffron.
Bit of a dark horse, really, in the race, essentially. I mean, they are, what, 9th in the world right now at a 56 minutes, so they're, you know, pretty much going to smash through that on this run. But yeah, it's going to be absolutely amazing. I wonder if, I don't know, like, it's everything's just come, you know, perfectly for the guys here. Obviously, they've had full deaths, which has been a bit detrimental, but imagine if they didn't have those full deaths, it'd be even better. But yeah, everything has to go right here.
Yeah.
And if it does, we're going to be looking at a very, very good pace.
Yeah, they're on track. That was actually another world record Saffron. That's the fastest Saff in the world. They're just pumping right now. You can see 4 minutes left on Warchief's Blessing, 7 minutes on Songflower. So he's actually gonna have Songflower fighting the last boss, fighting Kel'Thuzad. Like the Warchiefs will be gone by the time they fight KT, but he will have Songflower. So that means that some of the melee actually could have Warchief's Blessing fighting KT if they have perfect timers on their actual buffs, which is huge. You very rarely have your 1 hour buffs here. Sometimes you do, but fighting KT, usually they fall off. And just having those extra buffs even means that the fight for Kel'Thuzad itself can be a shorter fight, which means less chances for RNG to go wrong.
Right, and that's what this fight is all about. I mean, kind of as we, you know, got to slog through the first phase here, like what kind of RNG are we like not wanting during this fight?
What we don't want is an early mind control and an early freeze. So an early frost blast could chain between the melee during the mind control. But Noda is one of the guilds that's very composed whenever things go wrong. They won't be out of position, generally speaking. They're consistent. I think this is the best way to describe this guild is consistency. They have almost always put up insane times for these raids, all of the raids in WoW Classic, purely because of consistency and pacing. That's like where they excel the most, is their pacing and consistency. And that's why in AQ they had the world record. Sal Baker's was like 8 seconds behind them with like 20 deaths. Because Baker's plays a little bit riskier and doesn't play as safe, and Noda just had the motto pretty much, just don't die. And that's pretty much it, dude. Yeah. And just don't die, Fivehead.
I love that. I love that. So that was actually Bloodwill, right? The guy who we had the interview with just before that, before this, the guy. yeah, I'm happy for him, man. He seems like a good guy. So hopefully the team can get this done as we go through this first phase for the next 3 minutes, and then we're gonna finally get into some KT action. But yeah, it's gonna be tight.
It's looking incredible though, right? If they get into KT in 3 minutes, they're going to be at a 47.5-minute timer, and then that gives them 2.5 minutes to kill Kel'Thuzad. They're getting sub 50 unless things go wrong. This is the world first sub 50 run unless things go wrong. This won't be their fastest time on like they've ever done, speaking about the PTR, but it will be their fastest time in the entire world on live. So even though Noda and Bakers have put up faster times on PTR, this is absolutely the fastest time in the world, and they have multiple world fastest kills on bosses in this run. So they're just moving insanely fast.
Yeah, I mean, even if they don't get the world record time at this point, they've already won. They already got the record Saf, the record Thaddeus, the record Horsemen. It's amazing. Like, the guys have just come out of nowhere, really, and just absolutely blasted this raid so far.
Yeah, you said it earlier, Noda being the dark horse. I think most people in the speedrun scene, unless you're in one of these top guilds, if you're just a casual viewer of speedruns, you generally don't think of Noda that much. But if you are deep in the scene, you know that this is a guild that will come out of nowhere a bit later. They weren't really doing speedruns earlier during Naxxramas, so before this competition even started, their fastest time was like, I don't know, it was like 1 minute or an hour and 9 minutes or something. They don't put up crazy times early on because they're not really doing speedruns, and then they shift focus to just going hard on the speedruns, and they just perform. It's great. They do obviously do a lot of test runs, but everybody does a lot of practice, and the difference between a world tier or getting these world records is actually executing after the practice in the live runs.
Right. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like with the PTR and stuff, I feel like there's a lot less pressure as well, right? With if you die or whatever, you can just like copy a new character, go again, sort of thing. But when it's the live runs, you do see like we saw last week, some of the best guilds in the world making like little mistakes here and there. But we've got about 43 seconds left of this phase as we roll into the second phase where they can actually attack KT. I'm sure their Discord's getting pretty hyped up at this point.
Yeah, they definitely are probably trying to like calm each other down, just execute this boss, and they win, right? They absolutely win. And this is just kind of textbook of none of the above. They did this in AQ multiple times and just came in and actually in AQ they had a lot of the best innovation, and in Naxxramas we saw a lot of innovation from some of the other guilds, and none of the above just was one of the first people to have some of the craziest innovation in AQ and execute it, and now they're just coming in and executing this well. KT is engaged. It looks like all of the ads are going to be dying very quickly, and this is it. Here we go. Recklessness used. They did flip the boss around, which is something that you don't necessarily need to do. It's kind of an older strategy to turn the boss around again. It just kind of repositions him a little bit. Most guilds now will just kind of pull the boss towards this middle area and just keep him facing the direction he's doing. But now they are pumping. The boss already at 50% as they are just blasting. They haven't gotten any MCs yet. Already at 40%, 0 mind controls, 0 frost blasts in the melee, and 0 shadow fishers in the melee.
30%. This is it. This has got to be it. Pogs. Chat, get your pogs at the ready. This could very well be a sub 50.
This is absolutely the sub 50. The first MC is out and it's almost over in 3 seconds. We're gonna see Frost Blast is on cooldown right now, so it looks like there hasn't even been a Frost Blast on melee. They have 20 seconds till the next Frost Blast is. It's done. That's it. That's it. That's game. 3 deaths.
5%. 3, 2, 1, and there it is, ladies and gentlemen.
There it is. With the King's Faru. Oh, none of the above with the world record's first ever sub 50-minute run on live servers. Congratulations.
Claps in chat, boys. Holy moly, what a run that was.
Yeah, That was absolutely crazy. Exodus, now we can see second in the running right now at 51 minutes and 10 seconds with Kel'Thuzad being engaged in 3 minutes, it looks like. Unless that is the kill timer. So Exodus also putting up an insane time. Their fastest time also.
Yeah, amazing, right? This is
Traeger comes to the chat. Traeger, get enough pump today. Congrats, boys. Congrats, Noda. I love it.
That was awesome, man. That was awesome. That was exactly what you predicted as well. You kind of knew it, right? We're gonna see a world record.
Yeah, and I mean, I personally I kind of anticipated it being none of the above. That's nothing to say against, and Bakers, if they perform, can put up an insane time. And actually, we might see, so hold on to your seats, guys. During the second run, if things go well, we could potentially see an even faster run. But none of the above just are so consistent, and like, they were my potential favorite going into this, just because they've just performed well, like, over and over and over again. Whereas with Bakers, they kind of shoot themselves in the foot with one little death setting things off, and that's like a snowball effect, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was extremely unfortunate, but holy, I can't even get over it, man. We just saw the world record. We saw, well, 4 world records. We saw the fastest time ever. We saw Horsemen, Thaddeus, Saf. I don't think it was a KT
That might have
record,
been,
though, was
I
it?
don't know if that was, let me look. It was 1 minute and 17 seconds. 1 minute and 17 seconds, KT. How many world records did they get today? Patchwork was second. Like, that was crazy. Just towards the end of this raid, they just were absolutely pumping. Nobody could keep up.
Wow, that was awesome, man. Like, it just goes to show, like, when you don't, die on that early Abomination Week or have any, like, silly mistakes, unfortunately, like, it just goes perfectly. And they should be happy with that. It should be super, super happy. And they are currently, yes, at the top of the leaderboard, right? Of the world, of everything.
They're at the top of the world. There is no one that has ever beaten them. That is amazing. Yeah, the top of the world for... So this is, it looks like we'll potentially have one more circus before the pre-patch comes out for TBC. So people will have just potentially one more shot to really beat this. But this is the world's first sub 50, and that's incredible. It's just, they didn't do anything too crazy with their run. They just played well, and they just move fast at all times. Their pacing is always good. Traegor is like, and Skedo their tanks are always kiting, always, like I mentioned earlier, they're always moving forward, and the whole raid just kind of moves as a giant mob. So that was just kind of incredible for them.
Yeah, that was that was just a perfect run. I mean, I'm sure, like, you could ask them, like, God, that got me. Yeah, you could ask them, like, what went wrong, right? They're probably still going to be critical of themselves about the early deaths. Like, I bet they'll be like, right, we're going to come back, we're going to get an even better time without the deaths. Yeah,
they've themselves on the PTR put up faster times than that, so really those deaths did hurt them. Luckily, though, Kel'Thuzad that RNG was great. The only thing that could have potentially been better is if they would have gotten 0 mind controls, and I've only seen that in 2 runs, 1 Salad Baker run and 1 Progress run ever. And I've run Nax myself on 4 different characters every week since launch. So killing KT before he does any mind controls is very rare. It's heavily dependent on RNG, but none of the above had actually some of the best RNG we've seen there.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. Like, what a fantastic run. And right here at Raid Masters, guys, that is just phenomenal. What a fantastic event to have that world record be broadcast on. Just really, really happy about that. But we're looking at Praxis now with a 53-minute run. That's actually pretty darn good for them, and pretty darn good for the tournament, right? It's a really, really good time.
Yeah, Praxis putting up a very, very solid time right now. 53 minutes as they move into KT, halfway through phase 1 of Kel'Thuzad also. So Praxis is going to get a sub 1 hour run here. So really, really solid times. It looks like today we're seeing a better showing from most of the guilds. Very, very good pacing for everyone. Baker's was at 45 minutes on Saffron, so they're not going to get their record most likely, but they're also just putting up a very solid time. So we actually have a little bit of comms for you guys of Noda as they finish the run.
Hear them. All right, this was Messi kill, but it's okay.
48, 45.
48.
Good job, boys.
Pretty good. 48, 45.
40, 50 maybe.
Okay,
Mine's
so
in 45.
we still did sub 49, which is pretty cool. It's like you know, tournament stuff on stream, everything. It's cool.
Log
Good
says
job.
48, 49.
Yeah, but it's fine. Like I'm pretty sure that this is a tournament win. That's what obviously we need to get it confirmed, but I'm pretty sure. So sub 49, that's pretty cool.
Dude, I've casted like world first rating, right? And they cheer at like the second boss. They like how the roof blows off the place. Those dudes. Yeah, I think it's a 40. Yeah, we win the tournament. Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I like it.
You can just yeah. They're very calm, and the thing is, they know they can put up an even better time. So it wasn't perfect, it wasn't a flawless run for them. They know they can put up an even better time. It is world record though. It is world record, obviously tournament record because it's the world record right now. But really, they know they can do even better, which you can hear it in their voices. They're not 100% satisfied with the run. But I'm definitely, as a viewer, I hope you guys watching this all very satisfied seeing that first sub 50. That is awesome to watch, awesome to see, pretty insane to have it happen in the tournament. And now we actually have some comms from Salad Bakers.
Nothing is being tanked by Group 8 right now. They're not tanking anything. Every single mob is loose. I'm watching it. Every single mob is loose. Group 8 didn't tank shit.
Good old Lottie.
An experience of Group 8 or what?
Thank you, Group 8.
I was tanking the death.
No, you weren't.
Bro, no, you
I
weren't. There was literally Rider, Horse, and 2 Death Knights were loose.
I was thanking.
Ghouls now.
Shut up.
We're fine. We hear the
Ghouls are low prio. They're low prio.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's probably how we got in the first.
Wow.
So Bakers with the 14 deaths. You can hear Lottie. Lottie, infamous in the scene for the Lottie Rage. That wasn't that bad though of him. It is. That was pretty good.
Not bad for him. Praxis, by the way, their record, according to Warcraft logs, of course, our partners here, 1 hour 8 minutes. So they've actually blasted past their personal best by a lot.
By a huge margin. Yeah, Praxis putting up their fastest time by a lot, and they've only had 1 death so far in this entire raid. So this is one of the cleanest raids ever. If they actually have only that 1 death, although KT is a place where you can just see people dying, I think that ties for world best execution. I think it might be. Oh, if he gets out of the MC right as this goes on. Okay, he's fine. That was so scary. There was a Shadow Fisher right underneath him while he was sheeped, and I've seen this happen. If it times perfectly, the second you get out of the mind control as you're still sheeped, you don't have time to move out of the Shadow Fisher and die. It was, but really huge improvement from Praxis. They're going to be really, really happy with this run. Either way, this saves them over 10 minutes.
Yeah, that is really, really impressive actually, and especially like last time we saw them, they did actually wipe kind of early on. So yeah, I'm sure the guys are going to be super pleased with that. Like, you know, we spoke to was it the main tank, wasn't it? Begins with a T, can't remember his name.
Yeah, Taiba here.
Taiba, yeah, he was
Taiba here. Yeah,
super nice guy. So yeah, I'd love to kind of hear what he has to say about it. I guess, yeah, I think he'd be pleased, honestly.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm intrigued as well. Senseless is over an hour. It looks like things did not go their way on Kel'Thuzad, unfortunately. So Praxis here about to kill KT with that one death, still at that one death. So this is oh, I jinxed it. Caster curse.
No.
Still, insane execution from Praxis. I'm sure they are just so excited, so happy with their run. That is just great timing. They played so clean, and to shave off 10 minutes from your last fastest run to get one of the world fastest runs, really, really nice.
Yeah, that was a great run, honestly, from them. Like, as you had one death right in the end, or did they actually get any more than that during the KT?
Yeah, they had two more deaths right at the end, but
still
really
amazing.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely incredible there. But yeah, it looks like Warcraft Logs have updated the official time for None of the Above as 48:48. There it is, with
48:48.
Yeah.
World fastest Diva actually was the top DPS warrior in there. I'm looking at the I can't wait to go through these long. I love this stuff. The Shadow Fisher, you'll see Taiba move in, or Lottie move in actually here. It looks like Lottie is tanking with Pante, I think, and so as they're moving in, that's just a thing when there's no Frost Blast on CD. When a Shadow Fisher happens on the tank, he can move forward, and then the whole raid just kind of adjusts accordingly. It does look, though, actually the Frost Blast just went out, but one warrior kind of got into a scarier position there, but it was right after the Frost Blast, which is nice.
Right, yeah. Do you think? How do you think they feel about this run so far? I mean, obviously we saw the comms a minute ago, but.
Well, there's already 3 deaths here, and one of them is Lottie again. So
no.
I don't know.
His poor desk.
I don't know if they could. Yeah, I don't know if they could. If the comms are as calm this time. He's been rezzed. It's just been not their best run, not their favorite run. 14 deaths before this boss, so then those 17 deaths already. Just it all came down to execution for them. Just people not picking up tank targets, as we heard in the comms, and that really set things back, and just anyone died. Any deaths you have is gonna really cost you, especially overall, and now they're having some more deaths come in on KT. We can see Pante pick up the ads, and KT should be dying soon. There's the death on KT, 50 minutes and 40 seconds. So still a very, very solid time. Overall, an incredible time, but it just wasn't what they wanted. Definitely not what they wanted. Definitely not the world record, and not even their fastest.
Ooh.
Not even close, really, to their fastest.
Maximum effort. How about this? What do we got? A paladin healer? Holy Pally?
Maximum Effort has not had their best raid. You can see up at the top, nobody has world buffs. I believe there was, it looks like there was at least multiple full wipes. They're at 1 hour and 7 minutes moving into Patchwork. They've had 88 deaths, so this has been, unfortunately, probably, their morale might be low. There is a death, actually,
not to the slide,
and you can see the little teabag, though. So there is another death. This has just been not their best showing from Maximum Effort. Unfortunately, this has been a bit rough for them. But one of the top guilds in the world. They do have some very solid times. They're 11 in the world right now at their current time, which was 57 minutes and 13 seconds. They definitely wanted to come in here and beat that. It just seems like some of the pulls just went wrong. And then once you've lost world buffs, especially if you lose world buffs early on, it's over. You can see that their Spider Wing took 19 minutes and 40 seconds. So
a 29-minute death ring.
Yeah, they've had some long wings.
But that's okay.
You can see
As
the
you said,
world buffs at the bottom. Everyone's died.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, as you mentioned, they are 11th in the world. Like, this is, it's just a bad day at the office for Maximum Effort, unfortunately. But silver lining, the Paladin looks pretty cool in Tier 3. So, could be worse. Why has he got his character screen up. I guess just to swap items, right?
Yeah, probably. He's just swapping gear. Actually, I don't know what the reasoning he would have for having this up. It doesn't look like he has anything that's really on use. He did swap a trinket earlier, but he does have trinket menu, so he can swap his trinkets without going up to the character screen. So
we're looking at his like mana regen or something like that. Maybe just keeping an eye.
Yeah.
Or just looking at his character. I do that too, you know.
It looks like, thank you, Daywin Dice, telling me that they wiped on the Grand Widow pull. So someone forgot to invisibility potion and wipe them on the Faralina pull. That pretty much is what happens, right? If that goes down so early, that's pretty much game for the raid, for the speed run.
Right, yeah. It's you hate to see it, you really do, especially with a guild that, you know, are pretty darn good with maximum effort, their record time being 57 minutes, which is awesome. Obviously, I think that actually with that practice run, they do push them down a little bit if we check the Warcraft logs, if they've been updated yet. But yeah, practice are now 20. Oh, yeah, 59 minutes 48 in the end. So yeah, they're 20th in the world from, what was it, 54? So amazing.
Yeah, Praxis putting up a good time. Senseless actually going in and not beating their current record. So unfortunate for Senseless, things did go a little bit awry for them. They were on a very solid pace, but they did have a lot of deaths early. This is a riskier play that Senseless runs, obviously, with the no mages. They have a riskier group composition with all warriors. Warriors do have a lot more HP and can live a lot longer than mages, but they can't deal with some different like mechanics as well, or bigger packs as well. So it was really huge from None of the Above. Amazing performance from Noda. Congratulations on that world record.
Raidmasters, guys, Mr. Sarth, overall impressions of what we just saw there, if you can sum it all up into one sentence.
That was awesome. It was great. It was almost a perfect run, which it's hard to say at this level, right? It was minutes before, or minutes faster than the world record, the current world record. But we heard the comms. They're not absolutely happy with it, but they're happy to get that world record and to be the fastest in the competition. But they know they can perform better. So at this level, at this pacing, there's just tiny things that can go wrong. But it was amazing to watch. Really incredible execution from None of the Above.
And Mr. GM, it seemed like a theme maybe of round number one seemed to deal with timings or maybe missing those timings. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, it was interesting actually. This is the first time I think in the tournament we've seen the Faralina pool go a little bit south through a couple of these guilds. So certainly the first time for me to see that kind of all go terribly. Yeah, it just falls apart so quickly and you lose so much time from that. You know, we saw with Salad Bakers who, you know, pretty much there. You know, a lot of people were saying they were going to win the whole tournament and not their best time. And I'm very curious to know how they feel about that.
Hey, last week it was the Vesuvius fight, the Gothic fight, and the pre-patch for trash. This week, the Faralina pool. Let's go ahead and take a look at our schedule, see how the rest of the day here for Raidmasters Naxxramas, brought to you by G-Loot, HyperX, and Warcraft Logs, is going to be progressing. We have now got round number one done and dusted. It's in the books. You just saw those runs there. These guilds, rather, have cemented those times now on the leaderboards, and there are 2 guilds left who will be running later today in just a short bit of time in round number 2. Once that finishes up, we'll come back here for the breakdown and sum up the entire tournament. We'll talk to our winners in first, second, and third place, and then our opposite faction winner as well. But a very exciting day of Naxxramas Raidmasters still going to be coming up next. Again, 2 guilds left to run. That's going to be Rain and Tribe. Keep in mind, Rain was the guild that walked away with first place after week number 1. Didn't solidify anything. Again, that was their first run of the week. However, it has been bested here by Noda. Will Rain be able to trump that time? Will they be able to shave that time off? Will Tribe come in and maybe be able to dominate it all and put everyone to shame? You'll have to find out after this break. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to day number 3, Championship Sunday of Raidmasters Naxxramas, brought to you by G-Loot, HyperX, and Warcraft Logs. My name is Esquire, joined here on the casting desk by none other than Mr. GM and Sarth. Gentlemen, an incredible round 1 here of the final day number 3 of Raidmasters. We just saw a world record attempt get put up by the members of None of the Above, and, well, just so happens we happen to have one of the members of None of the Above, Bloodwill, who's going to shed some light on their run. Bloodwill, thank you for joining us. Congratulations on that world record run.
Okay, there we go. Hello.
Hey, how's it going? Congratulations, Bloodwill. I mean, incredible run for you guys.
Thank you. Yes, it was a good run. I mean, we kind of took it home safe. So yeah, it was a good run.
So I got to ask you, we were able to tune into your guys' comms as you killed KT, and we kind of drew some contrast to some of the other world first races, etc. that we've seen. You guys were fairly calm, cool, collected, as Mr. GM put it. Can you maybe give us an idea on how your general impressions of the run went and what's next for you guys?
Yeah, just to give you a little bit insight, maybe why the comms was more chill than what you have heard before in different types of world races in WoW, is because we've been doing a lot of PTR, and here the times are completely different for us. You're playing without any pressure from voice or from the stream. You don't have half the community watching you. So playing on a stream, participating in the tournament, you're kind of fragile to nerves, and we knew from the start of Spiderwing that this was going to be slower than what we have done on PTR. PTR can shed some light on that. We have been, for example, just today we were close to sub 47 minutes on PTR. So of course we are super happy to win the tournament. But the last kind of excitement there was missing because of the speed. But that's just how it is. Obviously, we're all super happy about this. What's next for us? I think there's 14 days now to next DMF, and I think it's time for some, probably sub 47 minute runs on next PTR without nerves from participating in the tournament and completely opening up for everything voice and stream. I think I want to big shout out to all the boys in the guild for fucking manning up and be part of this, and not be afraid of giving something back to the community. I think that's super cool that people are in the guild are men enough to do that.
That's awesome. What a nice guy. You are. So my question I have, so last week, the Abomination Wing, right? The pull there that caused the issue. Have you been practicing that like crazy on the PTR? That's kind of what I speculated, is what I assumed. I'm guessing you guys kind of have been doing that one.
I think just to maybe shed a little bit of light on what we do in PTR is that when we have a problem somewhere, for example, in Abomination Wing, we target practice it. Then we lock characters. We found a way so we could reset it, that we could use the same character over and over. And we basically just, threw bodies into the Abomination Wing until every single way that packs could be positioned in was, perfected. Because there's so much RNG in there. You can have Retchers and Belchers or different places, and the patrolling. So we basically just, kept going until we were like, this can never be, better than what we are doing right now. So yeah, we basically target stuff and then we throw bodies into it.
Yeah, that's one thing that I wanted to ask you guys is, like, obviously you're targeting that, and you're probably, I would anticipate with a run of this caliber, like going in and actually checking the IDs to make sure which you have the Belchers and Retchers. But moving forward, if you want to get that sub 47 on live, do you think you guys are going to employ even more strategies? Because you did play it a little bit safe at some times, but also you lost a lot of time from losing some people a little early. So are you going to employ even more strategies? Do you think you're going to play a little bit riskier now that you have this solid time on the live runs?
I think we don't play not risky. The thing is, you need to know your limits, and if we have an unlucky pull, because we have done this so much, we know when we have to stop. And today, basically, the reason why we had to stop and play safe certain places is because we don't 5-head into things. We actually use our sort of brain and try to not go in and just throw it. There's much more on the line than it's not worth to just go ahead and throw it. To be able to do sub 47, you don't need to change strategies at all. I think the way that you start out the raid, we start out the raid so we can freely run down to north afterwards. I think that can change. But doing our strategy to the bone, you need some RNG. in the wings. You need to have good patrols. You need to be able to pull everything to Gothic rather than do it in Spiderwing. And then you need to know deaths are the worst. We have been playing a lot around not dying and focusing on not dying. If you lose a player, you lose a lot of time. It's basically just, focus on not dying, executing things to the perfection, good RNG, good calls, perfect pulls, good usage of CDs, and you can do sub 47 with our strategy, no problem at all. And we can also do that as is. The problem is, the nerves that you get from opening completely up to the world like we have done here, right? Sub 46, I think you're gonna have to do some things. Obviously, I don't want to say what ladder balloon strategies we are doing, but yeah.
Hey, well, Bloodwill, congratulations once again to you and your guild, None of the Above, on tacking up a stellar time. Currently #1 here in the tournament, but there are 2 guilds left to run. Reign and Tribe have yet to do their runs. I mean, do you have any parting words for them before they start?
Have fun. Good luck.
Have fun. Good luck. Thank you again, Bloodwill. Congratulations to your guild.
To beat our time, yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Well, hey, thank you again, and good luck to you guys as you proceed throughout the remainder of Classic Vanilla here in World of Warcraft. I mean, Mr. GM, pretty stellar interview right there. Some good insight into that guild.
He's very confident. He was very confident. He said they were the winners already. I don't know. I'll be very curious to see how Reign and Tribe do very, very shortly. But yeah, very confident, very happy. Critical still, of some of the things that happened. But yeah, I think in general, we seem pretty pleased with it.
Yeah, I mean, Star, what kind of emotions get brought up within you when you hear him talk about this, sub 47 minute runs? We obviously didn't see that here today, but it seems like they're confident that the next chance they get, it's sub 47 or bust. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, they've done this raid now so many times on the PTR. They know what they need to do. They know where the mistakes happened and where mistakes were made. So it's pretty much all about that, staying alive, that execution. He knows he doesn't need to change anything with the way they're tackling the raid to get that sub 47. It really means that as long as they play well, and they do that quite often, they get the world record again. But they're holding the world record by multiple, like over 2 minutes, right? So they're very, very solid right now with this time, and it leaves it up to Reign and Tribe, which I would think actually Tribe potentially could be a very, very interesting run. So we definitely are going to want to keep a close eye on what happens. Potentially some things we've never seen before. So I'm very intrigued.
I mean, coming into this week, right, when we saw Noto do their first run, week 1 of their first round, we saw the potential there, and I think that was maybe the biggest disappointment once we saw the wipe from them in the patchwork, pre-patchwork trash was just seeing how good it was. I mean, did they live up to that expectation up until that point for you, Sarth, or did you see a little bit of regression, I guess, in their play through the first half of the raid?
They actually they were beating their time, so they were living up to it for sure. And then they had a very clean execution through the Abomination Wing, so they did have some deaths happen early, but they also did, like, the Fairlina pull was super clean. The start of Spiderwing was really nice for them. They just had some unfortunate deaths. Their first death was actually to skitterer damage, which is a melees from those little tiny spiders. That's just a mistake, right, for that to happen. So as long as they clean things up, they definitely lived up to my expectations, and that it was what I was really hoping for Noda to pull off, and just they were at an even better pace than they were last week.
Yeah, they certainly were. And another interesting thing, Mr. GM, that we heard Bloodwill talk about was that, they were excited. They were very excited about winning, but they knew that they had some of those kind of, we used to call them land jitters, but in the age of 2021, we really don't have the lands going on right now. But it's the jitters, kind of the excitement, the nerves that all come into play when you're not just running a speed run where it doesn't have the implications of being a tournament. You're not playing on stream in front of thousands of people. I mean, kind of shine some light on what that does to these players and how maybe they can get past some of those issues.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the peak of when they were running, we had around about 3,000 views or something like that. That's a lot of eyes on the product. There's a lot of eyes judging and watching and just, looking at them do their thing. And I think, for people that aren't, there's 40 people in the raid. Let's say, like, I don't know, like a handful of them stream. There's probably some that don't, and there's probably some that enjoy that. But then as soon as you get in the back of your mind that, yeah, there's, 3,000 people watching you do this, you're like, all right, I've got to be on the ball. But there's some pressure there. Absolutely some pressure there. And there's money on the line. There's reputation on the line. And they pulled it off. Absolutely. They got the world best. They've obviously got, 2 more guilds to come up against them this evening. But yeah, They did okay. They did okay under the pressure, for sure. But maybe not last week, but this time for sure.
This time for sure. So, we heard Bloodwill also talk about the fact that, the next DMF, the next Dark Moon Fair, the next circus is in about 2 weeks. Do you think that they're going to be able to expand off of this run? Do you think this is the world record that we will see for at least through maybe the next circus? Or do you think it's going to be trumped once again?
There's only really the rest of the competition that has the chance to beat them, which Rain and Tribe, and then also we don't really know actually what time Progress is putting up right now. So it very well could last until the next circus. It even honestly could last until the end of WoW, as long as people don't have clean runs. You can see how easily one thing can go wrong. So we'll see what happens.
We will see what happens, and we're also going to be seeing here just shortly from one of our members of, I believe, Praxis. We've got Taiba, who gave us some beautiful insight into the run last week, joining us once again, who maybe we can, run through how everything went. Taiba, congratulations. A solid run for you guys this week. I think a much better run than you guys had last week.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on again. And yeah, every single one of us was over the moon. Obviously, we've heard of better times going out tonight, but for us, we were really, really happy with that time. Secretly hoping for 55, but hey, we got sub 1 hour. We're very, very happy.
So Taiba, I think everyone right in the stream currently watching that saw you guys' run last week wants to know, what was the general what was the general environment within the guild when you guys were entering into that Gothic area where things went so fatally wrong last week?
You'd expect the worst, but surprisingly good. Got a good bunch of lads. They kept their head up. Really good attitude. Just immediately said, okay, we messed up, we go again. That was it. And I didn't have to say anything. They just said, right, because we weren't originally signed up to do a second run. And the moment that happened, we went, yeah, we're signing up, we're going again, and we're going to do the exact same thing, and we're going to get it right. So very, very happy that they did that. The guy who was also streaming, who was doing a lot of the strategy there, he was having bad connection issues this run. He was saying, Taiba, I'm spiking to 700 milliseconds. I won't be able to do this. And he pulled through and he clutched it. So we're completely over the moon with what happened, given the circumstances. Really happy.
Yeah, you guys did amazing. As you said, a sub hour. That puts you 21st in the whole world right now. So that's amazing. I think you're around about 50 or so beforehand. So yeah, good job on that.
Thank you very much.
I guess one thing I'm curious about, do you guys do the PTR much? And have you had a smaller, like a lower time than that over there?
So on the PTR, we haven't had time to do full runs, but we've basically focused on strategies. We did we didn't even get a full run done before because of people being late. So just before this evening, we were attempting to do a full run and we had to stop at Frostwing. But yeah, we do PTR, but it's mostly targeted strategies. So focusing on the slime skip, the Gothic strategy, etc. And obviously not with Raid Masters, but going forward in Classic, we're going to go back in the PTR and do a proper strategy now. That was a bit more of a safer one there. So hopefully go back and focus on it. And then hopefully,
yeah, you just touched on that.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, you just touched on it, which what I was actually curious about is you had one of the cleanest executions in the world, actually, going into KT with only 1 death so far. Was your focus on a very, very clean run, or were you focused on speed in general? So was it more of a focus on that execution and performing, or what was kind of the mentality going into the raid today?
There was very much a safety first mentality. I mean, I was screaming hold W throughout, etc. But honestly, most people were thinking, right, okay, we got a bad time last time. Let's get a solid time to work on for the rest of Classic. And we've done that. So we're very, very happy. There was a lot of safety, people putting on their plate gear, etc. There was a lot of apprehension, but generally it paid off. I'm surprised we were top on execution going into KT. 2 deaths at the end. It was a bad frost blast, but hey, doesn't matter. We got the time. So
yeah.
Taiba, I got to ask you, with having seen the speed run that Noda put up, okay, again, a sub 50-minute run, Do you guys, okay, within Praxis, do you feel that you have maybe the opportunity to even surpass that run, maybe in the next Dark Moon Fair? And what part of your run today did you identify as the biggest maybe weakness of your run?
So no, straight up. We don't think we're capable of sub 50. We're hoping 52-ish by the end of Classic. I think that's what we're capable of. But yeah, unless we have a drastically change in strategy or we find something out that's completely new, don't think we're going to breach that. In terms of the main weakness of this run, I would say actually I caused the biggest time loss. I'm not sure if it was noticed, but my stacks on the Gargoyles and Plague Wing dropped, but the raids didn't. And me raid leading called go in, and everyone's screaming, no, don't. I pulled, and we went up to 10 stacks, and it was about a 5-8 second time loss. There was a death on Thaddeus going into Saf, which is another 10-second time loss. And then obviously a few second time loss because of the deaths on KT. But I'd say the strategy itself was mainly the slow thing, really. Just need a strategy change to go faster. And to be honest, I think the guys would be fair to say that, you know, we are lacking in the individual damage department as well a bit. So if we had access to more damage, then obviously we'll be able to push harder. But yeah, I can't criticize anyone in my raid. I'm very happy with everyone. They're all happy. Just need to do a faster strategy and pump harder next time.
Well, Taiba, I think that's all we have for you. Congratulations again to you and your guild for putting up a stellar time. Certainly a much better run this week than the last week, and good luck to you all moving forward throughout the rest of Classic WoW Vanilla.
Thanks, guys. Lovely being on.
Okay, so you guys heard it there first, right from Taiba himself. You know, a much different interview. I would almost say the entire atmosphere in that room seemed much different. I mean, shed some light on what they must be going through, especially after the devastating run last week.
Yeah, they've got to be just so happy. You could tell he's really proud of his team and his roster. They just went in there, they knew their strategies, and they performed them well. He knows about the times they want to get by the end of Classic or can put up by the end of Classic. He knows what they have access to. And just with the team he has, like the people he has, he seems like he has a really, really supportive guild behind him, all working together. And pretty much they're all just like a cohesive team that like they pulled it off. They did it. That sub 1 hour, it's got to feel good for any guild in the world that gets the sub 1 hour. Always feels nice. So it was just a huge improvement for them, 10 minutes shorter than their fastest time. And that's a good amount of time when you're at this pace.
And Mr. GM, I want to get your thoughts on this because this was certainly maybe stark honesty coming out of him. I mean, when asked about the Noda run, if that was going to be a time that they could at least contest in the next Dark Moon Fair, I mean, pretty plainly he said no. That's an insane run. Shed some light on maybe what that means. I mean, given the weight of this, the weight of this speed run that Noda put up here. I mean, what is going on? Sub 50. How big is this?
I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's a British thing. It's a British thing. That's exactly what it is. But no, at least he's honest. I mean, I think he's pretty happy with his team. Like that's you know, just so supportive and so awesome. Like it's such a humble kind of, I don't know, just like a humble community. Look from the sounds of it, right? It sounds like a good bunch of guys that just love to raid together. And like as he said, yeah, in the PTR they're not doing full runs over there. They're just doing like specific things. Maybe if they had a bit more time or anything like that, they could potentially do that. But yeah, as I said, it's a British thing. He's just being completely honest, and that's how it is, really.
That's how it is. Well, let's see how it actually is. Let's take a look at our leaderboards. After our first round of day number 3, the final day here for Raid Masters Naxxramas has shaped up. And just as expected, Noda, aka none of the above, have placed first for the time being with a 48-minute, 48-second run. Absolutely insane. I mean, Sarth beating out Rain from last week by 4 minutes.
Yeah, this time was just unreal, honestly. Other than things we've seen on PTR, this is obviously the fastest we've seen ever in the live servers. And with Noda in particular, Bloodwill kind of touched on this, but like nerves can be a thing being on this big of a stage. Noda in particular has less eyes on them as something like Baker's. Like Sal Baker's Lottie, everyone is watching their speedruns. Like so many people are watching those. Noda does have streamers that are amazing, and a lot of people are watching those, but not at the exact level. And there's also just people that aren't used to having this much attention. So to go in there and perform at this level with this much attention on them was just incredible to see.
Two other very important things to point out before we switch off of our leaderboards is going to be the fact that in place number 7, in 7th place, you've got Senseless. Okay, you might be asking 7th place, Esquire, why are you talking about this? Well, Senseless, from what I have heard in my ear, the confirmation seems to be in that Senseless has pretty much secured themselves the opposite faction winning slot. So, Alliance will be definitely taking home the victory in Raid Masters. As to which Alliance guild, we don't know just yet. But Senseless will absolutely be placing in the money and taking home, at the very least, that $1,500 prize pool for the best opposite faction timing. Also, another guild that you had to look at on those leaderboards was going to be Tribe. I mean, Mr. GM, an hour and 9-minute run for Tribe in the last week. They're going to be going up here again with Rain. Do we look for the sub 1 hour? Do we look for a time that might contest? None of the above.
I mean, the Tribe is an interesting one, right? Their absolute best was on March 9th. They got a 52-minute run. They're 5th in the world right now, so I would not count them out at all. I'm really, really just curious to see how they do. I think Tribe and Rain are two extremely good guilds, extremely close on their timings as well in the world rankings right now, with Tribe being 5th and Rain being 6th there, both at 52 minutes. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. But yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like some of the times are misleading, because when you have those bad runs that we saw last week, up until that point, man, those were 50-minute runs. But when something bad happens, it cascades and it all goes falling down. Before we get into round number 2, guys, the final round of the day, the final round of the tournament for Raid Masters Naxxramas, brought to you by G-Loot, HyperX, and Warcraft Logs. Let's first take a very deep dive with Sarth and look at some of the data from Warcraft Logs.
Okay, so looking at the logs, moving into the logs, I have none of the above pulled up for their world record pace. And one of the things that pretty much you can see consistently, I don't even know if we have to mention it as much anymore, but everyone above or near 1000 DPS. This is huge, right? And this is something that Praxis actually Taiba touched on, is that sometimes you need a core group to all be this good, just to be this good. Diva on top, you can see, and then the rogue that died, Reiju, who actually died earlier, and I called it out during the run, hopefully that he was the exposed armor rogue. He was the exposed armor rogue. So this much DPS is pretty much necessary for a speedrun of this caliber. Then we can go and look over at the deaths they had, and they did have some early deaths. Right here, Jumbo died to those skitterers. That was the first mistake, really. Having this death to the skitterers so early into the raid, a mage go down really was the first mistake of their run, followed by a warrior dying early also. So early on, they did have these 2 deaths, which definitely cost them some time, and then Reiju dying later on, basically right after Lotheb, basically where you can't really get too many heals in the early pulls of the DK wing. So that's the fears you have there. But the craziest thing, one of the craziest things about this run was actually the 4 Horsemen. 1 minute and 19 seconds. This is the fastest 4 Horsemen we've ever seen recorded on live runs. And Thinox right here with 1300 DPS. This is the 4th highest damage dealt by any one person on this fight ever in the world. And multiple people here above 1000 DPS. That's a crazy, crazy number. Even Jealous, we've seen some rogues put up insane numbers on this fight, but this was just one of the fastest clears of 4 Horsemen we'll ever see. And really, it's just the most incredible thing that they had in this run. It's one of the things that really changes everything. Actually, everybody's first global too was on Zaliek. So they had everybody their first attack on Zaliek so that they can then move into the cleave phase and kill it as fast as possible. So that's pretty much the craziest thing from their run, was their 4 Horsemen clear. Other than that, things were pretty much standard, but they just had a very, very clean run. Very few deaths, and people were still using frost resistance on on Saffron, which you need to do even in these pacing runs. They did have the world's fastest Saffron, they did have the world's fastest Thaddeus, and they even had the world's fastest Kel'Thuzad, 1 minute and 19 seconds also, I think. So they have just been putting up some insane, absolutely insane times, and huge congratulations again to None of the Above.
Sar, we love the segments. The deep dives always give us exactly what we're looking for. That deep analytical look into just how the runs played out for some of our competitors in the previous round. Speaking of the previous round, guys, we've got all the replays accumulated. Our production's been hard at work gathering those for you all at home. So let's go ahead and take a look now at how this afternoon played out.
Here's Mr. GM's favorite pull.
There it is. It's beautiful. This one was picture perfect.
Yeah, and you can see all of the mobs targeting certain tanks right after they do it. This is, like I mentioned, was like the scarier one because they need people to be alive. Oh, and this is what happened with Bakers. Bakers got messed up because they actually grabbed these skitters as they were about to run in. So the pull wasn't actually set up perfect for Bakers. And we didn't see this on screen, but that's what happened, which means you have to run all the way back and you have to wait for your paladin is just gonna drop his petrification flask and he's gonna die. You're gonna reset the pull. There's nothing you can do there once it hasn't all been set up. And then Senseless went in. We saw our first Horde guild doing this, and it's pretty clean, but they did have 2 deaths. People got very, very low. So it's scary, very scary, and it can be scary for Horde guilds, but they don't have to deal with the same things that the Alliance guilds do if they're gonna use these spiders as well. So it is a scarier pull, but they pulled it off really well.
You know, Fairlena was quite the gravesite for many raiders in round number 1. I was actually rather able to catch one of the POVs from Salad Bakers, and in trying to fix that little mishap in the beginning of the pull, they blew all their sappers. They actually had one of their warriors, like PC, just straight up shut down from all of the commotion from the sappers. So I knew at that moment, I said I should be sending this clip to Mr. GM. He would love it.
Yeah, the computers just melt on that one. One day, you know, maybe in the distant future, we'll have the computers could actually see what happens when you drop those sappers, but not yet.
Yeah, KTs seem to be pretty clean tonight.
This goes down.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, in terms of the KTs today, they seem to be fairly clean. There wasn't anything crazy that we saw happen too often in the KTs, at least in round number 1.
So far, really, really clean, way better than we've seen so far in the tournament. And it comes down to, like I was talking about earlier, RNG. A lot of it is RNG on this fight. Obviously, you're reacting to things, but you can see there in the back, Praxis does get that Frost Blast on the melee, and that's like the time when the melee die. But if you don't get an early mind control, if you don't get any Frost Blasts on the melee, things are gonna go fine for you. It just costs you time having Frost Blast on the melee, or even Shadow Fissures on the melee, because then they lose uptime DPSing the boss. And that's really where Noda excelled, where they didn't have to worry about that so much. They actually have really good RNG, so Noda really blew up the